Hey everyone, Jen Rice here. I wanted to follow up on my last video on managing emotions in uncertain times. In the last video, I talked about this idea of outer world and inner world. Are relying on scaffolding outside of ourselves in order to regulate our inner state of mind, or do we have a skeleton, a really strong core that allows us to be more resilient, more confident, more in control of our emotions? Why am I talking about this? I am not a psychologist and I am not a psychiatrist. I am a coach, and what I am working on is this idea of an inner compass. And this is something that I have learned through a lot of trial and error, and actually have discovered that it's very validated in science, that this idea of our inner compass, our inner world, everything that we use to guide ourselves that is not our analytical thinking mind, can actually be a lot more accurate in terms of guiding our decisions, guiding us through life, making sure that we're not living according to somebody else's rules, but staying really true to ourselves. So there are three parts to this inner compass, and one of those is releasing the barriers to being able to even get into our bodies. Because all of this wisdom lies here, not here. So if we are working with uncomfortable emotions, stress, fear, anxiety, then if we're not comfortable working with that, then all of those emotions can hold us back from what we actually really want in our lives. So I'm going to do a separate video on this. In the meantime, I want to go back to this idea and give you some very practical tips and techniques on how to work with uncomfortable emotions. It all lies in our biology. As part of our autonomous nervous system, we have two parts. And trust me, this is the last time I'm going to get into the sciencey words, okay? So the two parts are our parasympathetic nervous system that is responsible for our relaxation. It's our relaxation center. It also governs eating, digestion, sex, all the nice, pleasurable emotions. And our sympathetic nervous system is our stress center, and it tends to shut down those optional parts of our body and focus instead on what our body needs to do to prepare to either run away from whatever it is that we're afraid of or fight it. And unfortunately, today, millions, eons after we've developed this capability, we don't have lions and tigers and bears that we need to run away from or fight. Right? There are things that we can't really do much about. They're just simply really uncomfortable and they cause stress in the body. So the sympathetic nervous system has a third option, which is freeze. And you can see what happens in my body when I say freeze. Everything gets tight, my breathing gets shallow, my stomach tenses up, my shoulders are tensed up. I am ready to do something. And what happens is if we are not able to work with this emotion in our body and allow it to release, then this is our constant state. This is what constant chronic anxiety feels like. And this is why we look outside of ourselves for what can make us happy, because our inner world is a really uncomfortable place to be. So, how do we more intentionally activate our parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation center, which is also related to our immune system? The more relaxed we are, the healthier we are. The more resistant we are to things like coronavirus, as well as a host of other physiological issues. So chronic stress, obviously, don't need to tell you, is connected to a lot of physical ailments, and that is because we store stress in the body. We are constantly having a stress response. So the process that we want to use goes back to what I alluded to in the last video. Step one is a gentle inquiry process, and we move into this idea of release and replace. So I want to use this idea of an emotional baseline. That's our neutral state. We're not stressed, we're not really happy, we're just cruising. Now there are things that will send us below the baseline, right? There's a lot that's sending us below the baseline these days. And if it's not too far below the baseline, we can do this process of inquire, release, replace. If we're way below the baseline, that's not going to work, and I'll tell you why. So let's start with inquiry. What we want to do is we want to say, all right, I'm aware that I'm below the baseline. I'm going to move up to releasing that, and then I want to replace it with something positive. This process of inquiry is so important. And sometimes we're not even aware that we're stressed, but I'd like to just ask you right now, maybe you're just laying on the couch, but maybe if we really start paying attention, you'll notice that, oh yeah, my gut's a little tight, my shoulders are a little tight. I'm actually holding tension in my body, which is continually activating this sympathetic nervous system. Right? Our bodies also tell our minds to be stressed and also in reverse. So let's start inquiring. Maybe we can think about a time when you were stressed out. Maybe you just read a story a couple hours ago that really got you going. And notice, I think about it and my body immediately responds to it. And this process of inquiry is so important because it is validating your inner world, your lived experience. It's like telling your inner 8-year-old, hey, what are you feeling? And it's okay to feel that. Where do you feel it? And this process of inquiry allows us to release even feelings of abandonment and feeling unheard. A lot of times we carry around these feelings because we are not validating ourselves. So we're going to start with inquiry. What's happening in my body? What am I feeling? I'm aware of it. I'm allowing it to be. And then I'm going to move up to the release phase. And to make that release, we're going to activate our parasympathetic nervous system. The easiest way to do this is through the breath. So we'll do an experiment right now. Okay, we're going to, when we breathe, it'll be 3 seconds in, 2 seconds hold, 5 seconds out. So we'll start with an inquiry. And if you need to, even think of something stressful, feel that tension in your body, feel things start contracting. We're going to move into the release phase, so we're going to take a deep breath. Hold, 2 seconds, 5 seconds exhale. And do that again, 3 seconds in. And when you breathe in, notice these areas of tension in your body and breathe right into them. So you're going to exhale any tension that you find. As you inhale, breathe it down past your lungs, pull that breath down into your belly. Feel everything start expanding. Expanding is an above the line feeling. Contracting is a below the line feeling. So let's expand, breathe into your gut, into your legs, into your shoulders, every part of your body that might be holding any tension. And then exhale longer than your inhale. That tells your brain and your nervous system that I am not under any immediate threat. There is no immediate threat. There's nothing to fight or flight. I'm breathing easy. Everything is fine. Okay? So, as you saw, the power of the mind to create a stress response in your body can be used to create a relaxation, not only a relaxation, but you can create a love response in your body, a joy response in your body, gratitude, any of these wonderful emotions that we want to feel above the baseline. So right now, think of a time when you felt a very strong feeling of love or being loved. Or maybe think of a time when you are deeply grateful for someone or something. Compassion, joy, just exhilarating joy. The first time I rode my bike, I still remember this, just this free, open exhilaration. Or as someone I was working with, moving out of her fear, I asked her to think about a feeling, and she remembered the time when she bonded with her baby for the first time. And her baby was in her arms and looked at her for the first time, and she just melted, and I could hear it over the phone. Her energy went from panic to, oh, this feels great. You just feel that love washing over your body. So this idea of visualization, the secret is embodied visualization. You are not just using your mind, you are literally allowing it to live and manifest in your body. Feel it radiating outward. And I would encourage you to play with this and develop the skill or the competency of being able to move from below baseline to above baseline, back into below baseline and back up. And over time, you really develop this skill to where when something bad happens to you or, something really scary is impending, you recognize it. You go, oh, I've been here before. I know how to work with this. Let me breathe. Let me be aware of it compassionately towards myself, breathe into it, replace it with something. What we don't want to do is if you are deep spinning out into panic mode and you're way below baseline, don't start with inquiry because you're not even in a place to be able to work with that. We want to start with getting you back up to baseline as quickly as you can. Go through the release process. Breathe. Activate that parasympathetic nervous system. Deep breath. Feel the areas of your body, releasing areas of tension, breathing into that, slow everything down. Then go into the process of inquiry, because what happens if we skip this? What happens if you skip that? You're essentially saying, I don't want to acknowledge how you're feeling. I want to completely reject you. I'm going to reject my inner 8-year-old and not allow her to express what she's feeling. That is the message that you send yourself when you go, I'm going to shut all this down now. So we're going to breathe through it, get to a place of neutral as close as you can, then go into, wow, what was that about? Recognizing that you are not your emotions and you are not controlled by these emotions. You are in control. I like to use the word mastery. And from there, gentle inquiry, where do I feel it? Let me familiarize myself so I know how to work with it next time. And then move back up into replace. All right, that wraps up today. Next video, I will talk more about the inner compass, but I do hope that this is helpful for you. I'd love to hear about your own experience. Have a good one, everyone. Be well.